Let's bring him in. Frank Seravalli, who is back in Vancouver, enjoying the long weekend. I actually informed Frank today that it's a holiday today in Canada. You probably saw like less foot traffic today, right?
No, so I don't know how to break this to you. You didn't inform me that was today was a holiday. That was my message to the moron in our company chat that thought he would send a picture that said, "Hey, hope everyone's enjoying their holiday." It's like, no, bud, today's game 7 with two of our biggest properties in the company. This isn't a holiday. We're all working here, but thanks for playing.
Well, you can still enjoy the holiday from home and do your job. Well, I guess you can't, but you know, some of us, we're still enjoying our holiday. You get to
It's
enjoy
not
it
a
by going
holiday,
to a
man.
game tonight.
Dude,
It
this
is.
ain't
It's
a
a holiday.
holiday. I saw the sun come up this morning at 5:00 typing a story. Uh, this is my 25th day on the road out of 29. There's nothing close to a holiday here.
Fair enough. Okay, Frank, answer that question though. Food and beverage combo at Citizens Bank Park.
Ooh, so my favorite holiday of the year is when it's Dollar Dog Night at Citizens Bank Park, and I try and go one dog per inning.
Oh, I like it.
Wow.
Do you do the nine? You know, you've heard of the 999 challenge?
Yeah, but the best I've ever done is 7.
Okay. Faber, you remember Chris Faber, obviously. He told us he could do 14. He's like, I could do 14. 14 innings. If it went to extras, he could keep up 14 dogs, 14 beers. And he's like, I could do 9, no problem. Like, he's like, I wouldn't even break a sweat.
Oh my God. I would have the meat sweats.
Okay, let's get to hockey, Harm.
Yeah, so of course the big news ahead of Game 7 is Brock Boeser's absence. What can you tell us about maybe what happened there and his potential status moving forward?
Yeah, so Brock Boeser had some pain in his leg upon examination from team medical personnel. They discovered a blood clot, obviously with some testing in his leg, and as a result of that, unfortunately for him and the Canucks, that effectively ends his season as he's been placed on blood thinning medication. Um, just a horrible break. This is a guy that's been through so much over the last number of years, and to have the season that he's had, to have the playoffs that he's had as this team's leading goal scorer, and to be a certified Edmonton Oiler killer with 9 goals in 10 games so far against the Oil this season. Couldn't think of a worse time or target to take out of your lineup. And, you know, obviously everyone's glad that Brock Boeser's okay. But this is going to be a tough one for Brock and the rest of the team to swallow.
What's the latest on Thatcher Demko? We've seen him skating. We know he's not going to play tonight. Despite Rick Tockett's jokes, we know he's not going to play tonight. What's the latest on him?
He probably could have played tonight, is the understanding that I have. The Canucks, they felt like it was an unfair spot to put him in because he's seen so little action over the last 2.5 months. And they felt like he needed just a little bit more time to get some action. They could have pushed and pushed and pushed, but with the way Shelovs has played these last number of weeks, and unfortunately with the way that he played in game 6, I just thought it was really smart of Rick Tocchet to take the distraction off the table. Hey, there's going to be no white knight coming in to save us. We've got to be able to do this ourselves, and we've got to be able to do it with the guys that have got us here to this point. And if the Vancouver Canucks advance, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Thatcher Demko in the net starting game 1 against the Dallas Stars on Thursday. Again, not a guarantee, but a strong possibility. And at the beginning of a series, you've got a little bit of time to kind of work yourself into some comfort, or at least back into a slight rhythm. So that's a totally different scenario and circumstance. Still pressure, but not nearly as much as stepping into a pressure cooker in game 7 with zero margin for error and no real idea of how your body's going to respond to the rigors of that test. And so they just felt like it was a bad spot to put him in.
Fair.
Overall, how are you feeling about your bet with quads? Are you starting to get a little nervous that we've gotten to game 7 here?
No, I was nervous going into game 6 because Look, the Canucks, however you want to process this, the Canucks had their kill shot in game 6 and they missed. And they missed because they had a goalie that re-entered the crease that had a 793 save percentage these playoffs. And they didn't ask the question, hey, are you any good? They had 9 shots through 2 periods. And there was maybe one save all game that Skinner made that was like, oh, that was an impressive sequence. And other than that, they didn't really have the puck and they certainly weren't dangerous. So that part is certainly concerning from that perspective. I think now, especially when you take Boeser out of the lineup, I just think there's such a gulf between the Oilers' best players and the Canucks' best players, at least how they've played in these playoffs. And that the tough part about predicting a game 7 is that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You know, there was kind of a joke this morning, like, hey, buckle up. We're about to see the game of Sam Lafferty's life. But that's sometimes how game 7s go. You have no idea where you're getting the contribution from, where you're getting the energy from, the smart plays, who commits an egregious turnover or play. The margin of error has been so incredibly razor thin in this series in particular that, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see it come down to the last 2-3 minutes, much like we've seen in a couple of these games to decide a winner of this series.
It's just been so close. And yeah, like I'm not feeling one way or the other about the bet with you. I don't even remember what it was, Frank. Like I don't remember what we bet.
We're gonna have to rewind after the fact and go rewind it. Something about me wearing a Canucks Army t-shirt
and tweeting that you're wrong. And then if if you lose, you get pied in the face.
Oh, that's right. That's it. Okay. Yeah,
you're gonna have to shave your cheesy playoff mustache first, though.
Okay. And Canucks fans don't want to hear this, so I'm not going to say I'm hoping, but that's the silver lining for me. If the Canucks lose tonight, that's the silver lining for me, is this thing gets to leave my face. Although it is kind of growing on me. Like I'm kind of starting
to literally it is kind of growing on you. But
it's starting to, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm starting to
Hey, look, okay. The Canucks have all sorts of reasons to feel optimistic tonight. We've said this a million times. If you put them in this spot prior to the season starting, everyone believed this Oiler team was built, ready-made for a Stanley Cup to contend. And the Canucks they finished 5 points ahead of them. They earned this right tonight to have home ice at Rogers Arena to end the Oilers season. And I wrote about it today.
Yep.
The Canucks have been at the center of pulling at the thread that has, almost completely unraveled Edmonton. November 6th in Rogers Arena, a Monday night. 6-2 win. Jay Woodcroft ejected in the third period. The next day, Jack Campbell waived. Later that week, Jay Woodcroft fired. So the Canucks beat the Oilers 3 times in the first 27 days, outscored them 18-6. And now they have the ability tonight in game 7 to finish the job and quite literally completely unravel the Edmonton Oilers season. Couldn't ask for anything more than that. You couldn't ask for better drama. I can't wait to see it.
This is why we love sports. This is why we love sports. And you had the column over at Daily Faceoff. You wrote about the Canucks' resiliency. They have just been a resilient group all year long, Frank. And I guess we'll close it on that as just your biggest X factor, because we were throwing out a few. Obviously, we're talking goaltending, we're talking secondary scoring, all that for the Canucks. What is the biggest X factor heading into game 7?
It's that they've won games these playoffs because of their belief with very little reason to expect them to win. Meaning they've pulled out some incredible circus-like wins that they had no business doing. And to be honest, if you were an Oiler fan, you had to be sitting there, even in game 6 in the third period, as lopsided as the game was, saying, hey, if Vancouver just gets one here and starts to make Stuart Skinner think, and it's 3-2 in the third period, all bets are off. Like, hold all tickets, please. So that part it's made every game fun. And you couldn't ask for anything more in a game 7 to have a team like that believes in that they just need to play even 45% of this game well, and they're going to be right in it. That's how they've played. And when they're on, they've been as good as anyone. They've got this, the way they pressure, the way they forecheck, the way they've defended, it's been great. But there's been plenty of time that it's sort of not there. And these are two, for the most part, really inconsistent teams, which is why this series has seesawed back and forth.
Yeah, it's been a good series, and it's going to be a good Game 7 for sure. Frank, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we will chat with you next week.
See you guys.
Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.